Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to OJK Seminar on Financial Inclusion, accelerating financial inclusion to empower remote regions and rural communities of ASEAN. The seminar is one of the seminar series in the ASEAN Fest 2023. To all invitees who are present in Hall B, Jakarta Convention Center, you are so welcome to occupy the available seats in our seminar area. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, in case you need translator devices, please kindly come to the registration desk. So we are about to begin our event shortly. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, you are all welcome to enter the seminar area and occupy the available seats. And now we are going to see and watch safety briefing by Jakarta Convention Center.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to Jakarta Convention Center. In case of emergency, the building evacuation will be announced room by room basis. Please leave the building immediately following the instruction from the emergency response team. Walk calmly, do not panic, and do not use the elevator. Do not return to the building for any reasons until further announcement. Hadirin yang terhormat, terima kasih telah datang ke gedung Jakarta Convention Center. Bila terjadi keadaan darurat, perintah untuk meninggalkan gedung akan diumumkan di setiap ruangan. Segera tinggalkan gedung dengan mengikuti instruksi dari petugas tanggap darurat atau petugas evakuasi. Berjalan tenang, jangan panik, dan tidak menggunakan lift. Jangan kembali ke dalam gedung dengan alasan apapun. Tunggu hingga ada pengumuman lebih lanjut. Terima kasih.
Welcome to Excellency Bapak Mahendra Siregar, the Honorable Ibu Federica Widyasari Dewi, all prominent panelists, and all governor representatives. We are about to begin the event. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace be upon us. Shalom. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Let us give praise to the presence of God Almighty. Because of His blessings in this very precious moment, we can all meet at the OJK Seminar on Financial Inclusion, closing financial inclusion gap between rurals and urbans through digital financial inclusion. Allow me, Ajeng Kamarati, to be the host of our event today. Before we start our agenda for today, allow me to greet Excellency, Chairman of the Board of Commissioner of the Indonesia Financial Services Authority, Bapak Mahendra Siregar, Honorable Chief Executive of Market Conduct Supervision, Education, and Consumer Protection of the Indonesia Financial Services Authority, Ibu Federica Widyasari Dewi. Prominent panelists, Deputy Commissioner of Financial Services, Market Conduct and Consumer Protection Supervision of Indonesia Financial Services Authority, Bapak Sarjito. Head of MSMEs Development and Consumer Protection, Department of Central Bank of Indonesia, Ibu Yunita Resmisari. Governor of Quirino Province, President of Union Local Authorities of the Philippines, Mr. Dakila Carlo Equa. 13th Mayor of Kuala Lumpur 2020 until March 2023, Mr. Datuk Sri Mahadingah. Secretary General of United Cities and Local Governments Asia Pacific, Ibu Bernadia Irawati Chandra Dewi. Distinguished representatives of ministries, institutions, international organizations, associations, and financial services institutions, and head of regions. Director General of Public Information, and Communications from Ministry of Communication and Information Technology Bapak Usman Kansong, Governor of North Sulawesi Bapak Oli Dondokambe, Acting Governor of Papua Bapak Ridwan Rumah Sukun, and local governor representatives, and all our respected audiences who are joining us hybrid at the Jakarta Convention Center, and those who are attending this event through our virtual platform. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to OJK Seminar on Financial Inclusion, which is one of the implementations of OJK support for Indonesia's ASEAN Chairmanship 2023. As a welcoming gesture to all of you, to start our meeting this morning, we have an exceptional performance that is specially created to be presented in our event today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is ASEAN in Harmony Dance. Yes, very astonishing. That was Asean in Harmony Dance. So, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, financial inclusion is an important component of human development and growth, as it helps to drive economic activity, reduce poverty and inequality, and ultimately leads to increased prosperity and well-being. It creates an environment where everyone is able to access financial services and products that best meet with their needs, enabling them to gain greater control over their financial future. Emphasize theme closing financial inclusion gap between rural and urban through digital financial inclusion. This seminar is aimed to give clearer view about the critical role of financial inclusion in local areas in supporting and improving livelihood. The seminar is also intended to explore the initiative from other countries to cope with financial inclusion problems in local areas through knowledge sharing and best practices in ASEAN. Concurrently, to highlight the importance of financial inclusion, regulations, and also supervision. Furthermore, the seminar is to examine how community-driven development as well as financial access could affect the livelihood of rural community groups. So, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, to begin our seminar agenda, firstly, we will listen to the opening remarks that are directly delivered by Chief Executive of Market Conduct Supervision, Education, and Consumer Protection of OJK. Without further ado, please give a round of applause to Ibu Frederica Widyasari Dewi.
Excellency Mr. Mahendra Siregar, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners of the Indonesia Financial Services Authority, distinguished governors of Indonesian province, Bapak Oli Dondon Kambe, Governor of North Sulawesi, Bapak Dr. Ridwan Rumasukun, Acting Governor of Papua Province, and all local government representatives, Bapak Usman Kansong, Director General of Ministry of Communication and Information, distinguished panelists, Head of OJK Regional Offices, of course OJK teams, Government Office, Association of Financial Institutions, colleagues from financial institutions, association and all academicians, journalists, and of course all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Shalom. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, August is a special month for all of us. As we all know that for Indonesia, August is when we celebrate our Independence Day, and also for ASEAN, because 8th of August is the day of establishment of ASEAN. So in this special moment, let me first appreciate and congratulate ASEAN for the remarkable progress it has made in becoming a thriving community that is inclusive for all. Indonesia holds the status of ASEAN Chairmanship 2023 with the theme ASEAN Matters Epicentrum of Growth that focus on how to strengthen ASEAN to become a fast-growing, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth while maintaining financial stability. Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, financial inclusion remains one of the priority issues for ASEAN economic development, as it has been reflected on ASEAN leaders' declaration, which underscore, among others, the ASEAN's commitment to support financial inclusion. In that regard, OJK has been consistently innovating to drive the acceleration of financial inclusion across all regions, with a particular focus on rural areas. One of the initiatives is the establishment of the Regional Financial Access Acceleration Team, or Tim Percepatan Akses Keuangan Daerah TPAKD, that now already established 495 TPAKD in 34 provinces. So I thank for all governors and all representatives of all governor of provinces. They already support and make this program very impactful to the region. And also the implementation of inclusive financial ecosystem that already established in 35 villages in Indonesia. The development of financial inclusion programs such as TPAKD has shown a positive correlation with the increase in financial inclusion index in rural area. This led to a reduction in the financial inclusion gap between rural and urban area. We can see from 2022 National Survey on Financial Literacy and Inclusion, the financial inclusion index in rural area climbed from 86.5% in 2019 to become 82.7% in 2022, while in urban area increased from 83.6% in 2019 to become 86.7% in 2022. This significantly narrowing the gap in the financial inclusion index between rural and urban area from 15% in 2019 to only 4% in 2022. I think big applause for all of you who have made this happen and for all the programs that is very impactful in the region. Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in order to achieve our target, the 90% of financial inclusion by 2024, and narrowing the financial inclusion gap between rural and urban area, we are honored to host OJK Seminar on Financial Inclusion, Accelerating Financial Inclusion to Empower Remote Region and Rural Communities in ASEAN, that we take a theme that closing the financial inclusion gap between rural and urban through digital financial inclusion. I thank my chairman for choosing this theme. We have a discussion a lot about what topic will be best to be present in this event. It is a collaborative event between OJK and Bank Indonesia, which is one of the event of Asean Festival 2023. This seminar will have a panel discussion with distinguished panelists, Dato Sri Mahadi bin Changah, is former mayor of Kuala Lumpur, Mr. Dakila Carlo Equa, Governor of Quirino Province and also President of Union Local Authorities of the Philippines, Pak Sarjito, Deputy Commissioner Market Conduct Supervision and Consumer Protection OJK, Ibu Yunita Resmisari, Head of MSME Development and Consumer Protection Department Bank Indonesia, and also Dr. Bernadia Irawati Chandradewi, the Secretary General of UCLG, United City and Local Government Asia Pacific. So this is expected to be a forum of exchanging ideas for all stakeholders to explore initiatives and experiences from other countries to understand the critical role of financial inclusion in supporting and improving the livelihood and how financial literacy and inclusion can support economic growth in the region. Before I end my remark, let me convey a special thanks and appreciation to our chairman, Mr. Mahendra, for all his support, directions, and especially the giving the idea, the theme, and everything, and our discussion. To the Governor of Bank Indonesia, Bapak Peri Warjio, and all BI team, Ibu Yunita Resmisari, for this wonderful synergy and collaboration, and of course, to everyone, OJK teams that has prepared this event very beautifully. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before I end my remark, let me invite all of you to join hands in synergy and collaboration to promote financial inclusion in our country, as we all believe that financial inclusion is the key enabler to reduce poverty and to boost the prosperity that at the end of the day, it will support the development of the nation economy. So thank you very much and enjoy the seminar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Ibu Frederica Widyasari Dewi, for the opening remarks. So before we proceed to our discussion session, once again we invite all of you to listen to the keynote speech from the chairman of the Board of Commissioner of OJK. With all due respect, we kindly invite the presence onto the stage, Bapak Mahendra Siregar.
After watching the dance that we just witnessed a few minutes ago, I really look forward to welcoming Timor-Leste as part of ASEAN. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Ibu Kiki, governors, we have Governor Oli Dondo Kambe, Acting Governor Ridwan Rumasukun, and also Governor Dakila Carlo Hua, and we also have Mayor Datuk Sri Mahadinga, and dear members of the panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. It's really a pleasure for me to welcome you to this seminar to discuss one of the most important objectives: to accelerate financial inclusion as a means to eradicate poverty and empower our people through accelerated integration into the respective ASEAN member states' economies and ASEAN. First, let me share with you the good and the bad news at the same time. For that, I would like to show you some slides. This is from the UN Capital Development Fund report entitled 2022 ASEAN Monitoring Progress Financial Inclusion in Selected ASEAN Countries. You can see from the next slide, the ASEAN Vision 2025 on the financial inclusion is how to enhance ASEAN financial inclusion. And we can see that it has strategic outcome, which is increased financial access, usage, and quality of financial usage to all. And based on that, we also see that there are two quantifiable targets to be achieved by 2025, which is the end of the ASEAN Vision 2025 itself. The first quantifiable target is to reduce average financial exclusion in ASEAN from 44% to 30%, or in other words, to increase the financial inclusion percentage to 70%. And the second quantifiable target is to enhance financial inclusion infrastructure readiness from 70% to 85%. Now, this was the report in 2022, so it's 2.5 years before the due date of 2025. So where are we now? On the first quantified target, overall as a region, the level of exclusion in ASEAN has decreased significantly between 2017 and 2022 from 46% to 22.6%, which means as a group of countries, ASEAN, it has far surpassed the regional target of 30%. So that is the good news. But if we go into the respective member states' condition, we see that there are 5 ASEAN member states that has reduced their level of financial exclusion below 30%. Those are Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand. But there are still 5 ASEAN member states in which the level of financial exclusion is higher than 30%. Now, on the second quantified target, as a region, the level of inclusion infrastructure readiness in ASEAN is currently at 83.6%. That is the figure for last year, which is still below the ASEAN regional targets of 85% by 2025. However, there are 6 categories in which the level of financial inclusion infrastructure readiness is already above 85%, while still 4 categories which the level of inclusion infrastructure readiness is lower than 85%. Now, obviously it's a mixed good and bad news in one information. Because while we might reach a target as a region, we are still in a big risk to miss them in respective individual countries of ASEAN due to financial inclusion gap among ASEAN members. And within respective countries, the same gap between urban and the remote areas and rural communities, which equally significant. In Indonesia, if you have traveled to many outlying regions, I believe you would see there is no shortage of ideas expressed by villagers and on how to improve their livelihoods. But they need to feel part of the national economy. And it is essential that ASEAN harnesses these ideas and that we empower these rural communities and outlying regions, as this is not just a social responsibility. But I have no doubt that the villages that you and I have visited will contribute positively to the economic growth and vibrancy of ASEAN, if provided the opportunity so that they develop their future and not just live day by day. After all, financial inclusions mean just that, an opportunity to provide those in need the means to plan, to implement, and to achieve the objective to improve livelihoods and to feel they have a purposeful life. Dear delegates, governors, participants, before turning to a number of policies that are currently being applied in our financial sector, we must be mindful of the broader picture that sustainable economic growth in the ASEAN, which is instrumental to ensuring that the financial sector has the resources required to extend financial integration. And by the same token, a solid financial sector is also instrumental to underpinning economic growth. Over the past few decades, ASEAN has been considered to be a good location for manufacturing because it possesses natural resources and an abundance of cheap labor. And while this has allowed for the early benefits of some ASEAN member states' industrialization, it has not provided the financial resources that would have integrated the rural population and remote areas communities into the broader economic and financial system. As this region embraces mostly developing and emerging economies, we need to focus more on value added by integrating both vertical upstream and downstream manufacturing. As we possess so many raw materials and minerals, the prospect for value added industries are very substantial, and we should move ahead. ASEAN is no longer just part of the factory of the world. ASEAN has become one of the largest markets in the world at the same time. And while the geopolitical and geoeconomic situation, unfortunately, will get worse in the next decade or so, ASEAN has to capitalize the momentum by capturing the opportunity of becoming the truly epicenter of growth of the world by promoting its own sustainable development model, the one that promotes ASEAN economic integration based on its dynamic competitive advantage as a source of its own global value chain to serve the intra-regional and global markets. Dear governors, delegates, participants, while I have deliberately focused on convening this message to you all, let me now turn to a number of the policy tools of financial inclusion. In Indonesia, the drive to enhance financial inclusion aligns with the mandate of the President concerning the National Strategy for Financial Inclusion. The objective is to achieve a financial inclusion index of 90% by next year. However, we also learn, and we would like to promote further, the quality of inclusion through the improvement and implementation of literacy program, because that would improve the capacity of the population to be less vulnerable to various illegal activities in the financial services. Many strategies are being developed, both in Indonesia and across the ASEAN region, to achieve financial inclusion. One significant opportunity to speed up financial inclusion in this era of technology is the utilization of digital financial services. Based on the payment aspect of financial inclusion framework, 3 essential foundations are required to facilitate the adoption of digital financial services. First, the commitment from both the government and the private sector to develop digital financial services. Second, a solid legal and regulatory framework for the system. Third, sufficient financial, information, and communication technology infrastructure. The next strategies to implement the digital financial services in order to drive economic growth include making digital-based financial products and transactions accessible to the public by using the technology that's already available. And second, developing and utilizing technological advancements to create innovation and various financial products. Third, promoting digital financial education and literacy. This obviously involves educating people about digital financial services, covering topics like financial products, digital payment methods, and practical tips for managing household finances effectively. Dear governors, members of panel, participants, despite the great potential of information technology in the era, there are also other important challenges to address when it comes to boosting financial inclusion. As we see from the report I mentioned in my opening, currently only 5 out of the 10 ASEAN member states that have adopted financial literacy strategies. This is crucial because to truly speed up financial inclusion, strong connection to finance literacy is essential. Financial literacy is one of the mitigation steps that can be taken to minimize the risk arising from financial inclusion as they become more widely used by the public. And as I suggested in how ASEAN should be able to promote its own sustainable development model, financial inclusion is a necessary requirement, but it is not sufficient by itself to bring people out of poverty and integrate them into the economy. I hope this seminar presents an important platform to share experiences, information, and best practices related to advancing financial inclusion among ASEAN member states. It is our aspiration that following this event, or in the near future, we stakeholders can work together to establish a sustainable environment of economic growth and development to promote inclusive finance. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Bapak. Please remain on stage, Bapak Mahendra Siregar. What a very insightful keynote speech. Because to capture the special occasion, we would like to invite as well Ibu Frederica, all today's panelists, Bapak Sarjito, Ibu Yunita Resmisari, Mr. Dakila Carlo, Mr. Datu Sri Mahadi Cenga, dan Ibu Bernadia, Ministry and Institution Representatives, Bapak Usman Kansong, Governor Representatives, Bapak Oli Dondo Kambe, dan Bapak Ridwan Rumah Sukun to the stage. To all the photographers, we would like to capture the special occasion, so we will take 2 shots of photos. Okay, all of you ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes, you're capturing the special occasion together. Another poses. Okay, all the photographers are ready. Let's give the best shot because this one is a special occasion of the Seminar of Financial Inclusion by OJK. Thank you so much, Bapak, Ibu, and all panelists. Thank you so much, and you may return to your seats. And for Bapak Mahendra and Ibu Federica, we kindly invite you to proceed to the doorstop to meet the fellow media colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, shortly we'll begin the panel session as our main agenda for today. So in the session, we will discuss about how to promote financial inclusion in rural area from regulators, regional governments, and academics perspective. This seminar is expected to enrich insights on policies and development strategy in rural areas regarding access to financial services, including but not limited to best practices from ASEAN countries, financial services needed, community development framework, technical assistance necessary, and any other notable issues in tackling financial inclusion problems in rural area. And through this seminar, the nations of ASEAN will be empowered to build a more inclusive financial system which offers more opportunities to everyone. So with this initiative, ASEAN will be able to increase the availability of financial services and create a more secure environment for financial transaction. So in addition, by making the financial system more accessible, the seminar will help to promote economic growth and also stability for all citizens of ASEAN countries. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin the panel discussion. So as the background, because our theme today is closing the financial inclusion gap between rural and urban through digital financial inclusion, this session will be moderated by my dear friend, an Indonesian senior news anchor. So this is going to be super insightful. There are a lot of insight that we will have, a lot of inspirations that we will have for the next 1 hour. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage our moderator for our panel discussion, Wahyu Wiwoho.
Good morning, Ajeng.
Good morning. You look great today. You are wearing batik today.
Thank you.
So are you ready? You can tell us a little bit more about what we are going to talk about on the panel discussion.
Yes, Ajeng and ladies and gentlemen, honorable. Basically, it is a sharing session, a share knowledge and share experience between countries in our region in order to closing the financial inclusion gap.
So it's going to be very insightful and very inspiring. So the stage is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, Wahyu Wiwoho.
Thank you, Ajeng Kamarati. Right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished guests, honorables, Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian. So we are going to talk about financial inclusion as an important component on human development and also economic growth. So this session will present 5 prominent panelists who come from various backgrounds from the academic community, government, and also regulators. And therefore, their presence at this stage will undoubtedly provide us with a variety of perspectives to comprehend the context of our discussion in financial inclusion. Right, let's begin our discussion by inviting our 5 panelists. The first panelist is the Deputy Commissioner of Financial Services Market Conduct and Consumer Protection Supervision of OJK. And our second panelist, we have the head of MSME Development and Consumer Protection Department of Bank Indonesia, formerly was head of Logistics and Facility Department in Bank Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Ibu Yunita Resmisari. Right, ladies and gentlemen, our next panelist is the governor of Quirino Province, and he is also national president of the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Mr. Dakila Carlo Chua. And next, we have the Vice Chairman of Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan Board Member MRT Lingkaran Sendirian Berhad. Formerly, he was the 13th Mayor of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Mr. Dato Sri Mahadi Chenga. And last, we have the from Academic Committee side. She's a Secretary General of UCLG Asia Pacific and formerly Program Director of CityNet for the Management of Human Settlement. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Ibu Bernadia Irawati Chandra Dewi. Right, thank you, panelists, ladies and gentlemen, honorables. Before we start our discussion, I will let each panelist to give a brief explanation on each role for 7 minutes each. So it will be started from Pak Sarjito, please, Pak Sarjito.
Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's a bit confused, actually. I have to speak English before lots of Indonesian, but I know that the panelists and also the person who are watching here is, because via YouTube could be, they need to have in English. Anyway, 7 minutes, and I have to talk a lot anyway. Basically, today we are talking about the inclusion, financial inclusion in the rural communities. OJK has been quite some time doing all of these things. As you might be aware of, mainly for the Indonesian, on 2016, President of Republic Indonesia instructed us actually and becoming the President regulation on the financial inclusion that the target of by 2024, it must be at least 90%. And the fact is, on the early 2023, we have a new law. The law says that government, Bank Indonesia, Central Bank, and OJK need to collaborate to push the financial literacy and inclusion, which is becoming the national strategy. And started from 2016, when the President issued the instruction, and we have been doing lots of work, and there was also the National Committee and the Financial Literacy and Inclusion. We work together, it's not only on the central government, but on the regional government, we form what we call the local financial access or regional financial access for financial inclusion team, which is consisted of the local government, academia, all the intellectuals over there, and also the financial service provider, including regulators like Bank Indonesia and the OJK. Those teams, we spread out all over Indonesia, but now it counted like 495, TPAKD. Actually has been working very well. It's not only to promote literacy and inclusion, but also this team basically also find out on the potential of the local government. And all of those good things that implemented by the local government can be copied by other government that have a similar problem. Within this TPAKD, or the Regional Financial Access Team, they have to discuss all together between local government, which is understand quite well on the capacity and the problem of the local government, and also the intellectuals, and also the financial service provider, and the regulators, what actually are needed by the government and the society. This is very important. Why? Because sometimes the local government itself does not really know. And with this TPAKD also, we really push on the financial literacy, because actually the Ministry of Education Affairs, the hand is not always the long hand like into all the provinces and regency and also mayors, including for those who are schools that basically is not controlled by the government, like the religious schools, like Muhammadiyah, Nahdlatul Ulama, and some other Catholic and other schools. And within this TPAKD, basically, we really push the local government to really push the literacy and also inclusion. Some of the thing also, in the central government, we also form a team, which consists of several ministries, including for those like, those who are not really certified on the land thing, like in the rural area, and also in the province, like in Padang, who most of the land is not being certified. So we really have a team, and President also forced this in order that people who then become having a certificate of the land, they can borrow in the bank. And the thing is though also, this TPAKD basically is a good thing. We also promote what we call the how to combat the loan shark. In Indonesia, all over Indonesia, almost that there are loan shark everywhere. I've been to Brazil. I know that in Brazil, sometimes people prefer to go to loan shark because cheaper than the bank, but not here. But the loan shark has been everywhere. And it has been quite some time, like as I told you, from 2016. Basically, the governor, like West Java government, they work together with the local bank, which is owned by the local government, to give credit to the society who are much lower than the loan shark. This is a good thing, actually, because the society now understand how to get financing, because the local government basically push this. But these things, some of the local government giving a very low interest rates, which is for me, this is not going to be good, because to enhance and to expand the the capacity,
right,
need to have a cost of debt, of cost of capital in
right,
that sense.
Right. Sir, you do have 1 more minute?
Oh my God, I still have a lot to talk. And the thing is that we have been doing is also business matching. What is meant by business matching? Because by this regional financial access team, we work together with all the MSMEs who actually need the financing. What financing? We provide all the financing, including the insurance. We give the insurance for the agriculture. We give the insurance, give the education, the insurance for livestock, and also for the fishery. This is one of the things that we have been doing. Can I do more than?
Yeah, you can have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. with these MSMEs all over the Indonesia, with this regional financial access team, work together with the financial service provider, how to provide a business, how to provide financing who are actually needed or requested by the local business. And by this TPA culture, we also promote digitalization. You know, like the parking lot that already been managed by the, white parking guy, and now become digitalized, and now the income of the government is also much better. And also the retribution in the market, in the traditional market, now being digitalized. And all this good thing that been successful in such local government, because all government can have an access, and they can share the success of the achievement to other province, to other regencies, and also mayors. And it can be copied and then used by local government if they think is beneficial for them. I guess I have to stop this because, you challenged me with 1 minute. I'm sorry I cannot tell you a lot. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Sarjito. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Right, thank you for the insight. And next, let's move to Ibu Yunita. You have also 7 minutes.
7 minutes, okay. Thank you, Pak Wahyu. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Ibu Frederica, Bapak Oli Donukambe, Pak Usman Kasong, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and the fellow speakers. First of all, I would like to thank OJK for having me here to share the experience of Bank Indonesia in developing a project to promote the economic inclusion and financial inclusion in rural and in the urban area. Let me start with some interesting figures that already mentioned by Ibu Frederica, Ibu Kiki, in her opening remarks, that actually it's the gap of the financial inclusion level and financial literacy level in the urban and rural area. The gap is very small actually. So there is almost no difference between our urban and rural area on the financial inclusion and financial literacy level. However, if we differentiate between provinces, there is a big gap between the province with highest level of financial inclusion and the province with the lowest level of financial inclusion. And it's also reflected by the QR Indonesian standard or the CRIS users, which already reached about 36 million in Indonesia. But if we differentiate between the region, and we can see that in the Java Islands dominate the user of the CRIS. So, and another interesting survey, the next slide, it's from Global Findex in 2021. It says that 70% of Indonesian adults without bank account is because they don't have sufficient fund, don't have money, don't have bank account. And it's also revealed by the survey from the National Financial Inclusion that they do not have bank account because they don't need the bank account because they don't have money. So if we want to promote financial inclusion, the first step is to have them economically inclusive, to have an economic empowerment. So this is the one pillar of the national strategy of economic and financial inclusion decided by Bank Indonesia. The one pillar is the economic empowerment. So on this opportunity, I would like to share with you our project in developing the economic empowerment in the region. We call it the program for subsistence group. The target group, is the member is the people that previously having the social aid. So they are the social aid beneficiaries. And we would like to create them to become a micro entrepreneurs. So basically we provide the facilitator working together with the local universities and an NGO to become their facilitator to assess the potentials, the economic potentials, and then we facilitate the capacity building. And once they establish their economic activity, and then we facilitate the linkage to the market, both the conventional market, the retail market, and also the digital market. And also we facilitate the access to financial services. And then we do the monitoring, evaluation, including the evaluation on the economic activity, which is reflected by the sales and the offsets of the group. And then after that, what we have, next slide. This is the one case, the pilot project in the Kepulauan Riau. If we have time, maybe we can see the video. Basically, we have the projects all over Indonesia. There is 91 projects in all over Indonesia. This next slide. Here, 91 projects with most of them are women. And it's the member of the whole group almost reached 1,700, and 50% of them are the social aid beneficiaries. Most of them engage in the creative industry because the majority of the member are women, and women are very creative, so they're engaged in the creative industry and also in the culinary and also in agriculture. And after the capacity building, after the programs, which is lasted about 6 to 8 months, what we have, 100%, all the groups, they have the business activity. They started their own business. They have sold their products through the e-commerce, and also they have experienced the increase in income, and they have at least the average monthly income of 2 million per month. And in terms of financial inclusion, 88% members have financial records in the simple method bookkeeping, and 82% members have a saving account because they have a stable financial resources. Now they can open the saving accounts in the bank. And 58 groups even, they already have financing from formal financial institutions.
Right. Bu Yunita, okay. You have 1 more minute. 1 more minute?
Okay. So can I show the video then? All right. So maybe we can see, because seeing is believing. Now let's have in the video, which is from the Kepulauan Riau pilot project in the Kepulauan Riau. Most of the members are women and engaged in agriculture. The video, please.
Perkenalkan, saya Mursia, Ketua Kelompok Wanita Tani Jadi Makmur Kota Batam. Harga cabai di Batam kemarin sempat naik tinggi sekali, bahkan pernah sampai 120.000 per kilonya. Sangat menyusahkan untuk ibu-ibu seperti kami-kami ini. Pengeluaran keluarga jadi naik tinggi sekali. Makanya kami para ibu-ibu ingin sekali bisa mandiri dan membantu keuangan keluarga, sehingga tidak semua bergantung kepada suami. Kami senang sekali ketika Bank Indonesia memilih kelompok kami untuk menerima program pengembangan.
Kami diminta Bank Indonesia menanam cabai rawit. Katanya kami bisa ikut menambah pasokan cabai supaya harga cabai tidak melambung seperti kemarin. Kami dibimbing mulai dari menyemai bibit, mengolah lahan, memberi pupuk, penyemprotan obat, dan pestisida, sampai bagaimana cara panen yang benar. Kami juga dilatih untuk mencatat semua pemasukan dan pengeluaran dan membuat laporan, menyusun jadwal kerja, sampai dengan bagi hasil setelah panen selesai. Kami merasakan banyak sekali manfaat dari program pelatihan dan bimbingan ini. Kami jadi lebih produktif dan memiliki penghasilan sendiri sebagai ibu-ibu. Bahkan beberapa anggota kami sampai tertarik untuk menanam cabai rawit di lahan mereka sendiri-sendiri.
Oh iya, kami sekarang juga sudah mengemas produk cabai hasil kebun kami dengan cantik seperti ini. Kami ibu-ibu KWT akan terus semangat dan menunjukkan bahwa wanita juga bisa berdaya dan menjadi hebat.
Can I have one, the last slide?
Right, but don't be too long.
Half minutes.
Thank you.
So maybe you can show the collaborative action. So ladies and gentlemen, those are the successful story of the kelompok tani wanita in the Kepulauan Riau. And then what we see is the key message if we have these collaborative actions among the region's stakeholders, including Bank Indonesia, and then the local government, NGO, universities, and also the industries, which is including the market and the financial institution. And with that, we can empower people and create the new micro entrepreneurs. And all those experience, we have put it in this book as a guideline for the economic development and financial inclusion based on subsistence group. And it's been launched in June. And we hope that with this guidance, we can replicate it, work together with other stakeholders. So there will be the new micro entrepreneurs all over Indonesia. And with that, the economic inclusion and financial inclusion and in rural and urban area will reach the target of 90% in 2024. With that, I stop here. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Bu Yunita. Very interesting and very bold presentation you have. Always interesting about the data that shows that so many adults in Indonesia that don't have a bank account because they don't have the money. Yeah, we will explore that later on. Thank you, Bu Yunita. And next, honorables, ladies and gentlemen, Governor Dex, it is your time. You have also 7 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much to our organizers in this event, to the Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Mahendra Sirigar, and Madame Federica Widyasari Dewi, the CEO of the Supervisory Financial Services Business Education of OJK, my fellow panelists and government workers, governors, good morning. Financial inclusion for us means that there is effective access to a wide range of financial services for all, especially the vulnerable sector. With over 109 million Filipinos, our country ranks as the 13th most populous country globally. The country's financial sector is swiftly advancing with digital services, offering new prospects to underserved areas. Notably, more Filipinos own mobile phones than have bank accounts, and over half of them spend 4 hours online daily. In the Philippines, we have a national strategy for inclusion financially that serves as a 6-year blueprint to achieve the vision of driving financial inclusion toward broad-based growth and financial resilience. Among many, it recognizes the important role of local governments in localizing the strategy and implementing the financial inclusion plans, programs, and projects of 82 provinces, 144 cities, and 1,485 municipalities and 42,000 villages. With about 253 unbanked cities and municipalities in the Philippines, the strategy for financial inclusion also leverages the digital space in order to reach more Filipinos. We have many examples, but I will abbreviate, of success stories, one of which is the central bank's joint program with the interior departments. It's called the Paleng QR, which is a QR code program for the public markets all over the country. Also, Same systems are being introduced to our tricycle operators, the main transport in the rural communities. Fintech companies are also reshaping the conventional banking landscape in the Philippines, gaining rapid traction, particularly among the youth. With more or less 300 fintech companies in the Philippines, their cutting-edge offerings are uniquely positioned to cater to the unbanked and underbanked, while their digital frameworks can streamline access to financial services, making them more attainable and cost-effective. However, this is the important point. Central to national and local government efforts for digital financial inclusion is having enabling infrastructure. There are many laws in the Philippines today mandating local governments and national government offices, central government offices, to go on the digital platform to offer services virtually, and yet we fail to recognize the need to invest more in infrastructure. Much as we would want to implement the Paleng QR program in every local government to enable every Filipino to access these services, challenge remains because of the lack of connectivity in infrastructure. Many rural areas in the Philippines still need reliable internet access, and unfortunately, the telcos are reluctant to install or invest in the remote areas because of lack of volume and lack of business potential. So I think here is the opportunity for governments, local government and national government, to work together and invest in this space. This means that 32% or 35.77 million people in the Philippines do not use the internet and remain offline in 2022. Our main cities in the National Capital Region recorded the highest internet access rate, but the reality is the further one goes away from Metro Manila, down to the Visayas and Mindanao, or even the northern part of Luzon, the more people have less access to internet services. So, unsurprisingly, there's a direct correlation between digital infrastructure and financial inclusion. And we cannot talk about one without the other. And the research in the Philippines shows that the further a local government is from the national capital, I don't know if it's true for Indonesia, but it's true for the Philippines, the fewer its residents tend to have access to financial institutions and systems. I saw in the chart earlier by our chairman that Philippines ranks lowest in financial inclusion, and this is perhaps one of the main reasons. For instance, in 2020, economically robust regions in the National Capital Region housed more financial institutions or banks, while poorer areas, often with security and accessibility concerns, don't even have one single bank.
Okay, Governor Dax, you have 1 more minute.
I'm almost done. This is why our organization, or the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines, have been pushing for more investment in connectivity and digitalization. In my home province of Quirino, the local government has invested 400, or is in the process of investing 400 Wi-Fi towers to cover the entire geographic area to ensure that there will be connectivity even in the most remotest of areas, even when it serves only one family or one person in that area. We will make sure that everybody is covered, that there is financial inclusion, and we will close the digital divide in our province. I think that is the key for us to be able to solve financial inclusion in our province and perhaps in many other cities and local governments in the entire ASEAN. Thank you for the opportunity to share our experience, and good morning to all of us.
Right, thank you, Governor Dax, for your presentation. We will elaborate more about some points, especially on the Paleng QR. Right, Governor Dax, thank you. And next, let's move to Dato Mahadi. Dato, you have also 7 minutes to present your material.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Mr. Wahyu, the moderator. Excellencies, Honorable Governors, City Mayors, distinguished panelists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all. As a former mayor of Kuala Lumpur, today I'll be speaking mostly based on my experience in executing the financial inclusion in terms of policies and program in Kuala Lumpur. But before I go further, I would like to extend my gratitude to the Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, Bank Indonesia, and the United Cities and Local Government for having me here. Again, as a mayor, as an ex-mayor or former mayor, my tenure there or in Kuala Lumpur allowed me to witness firsthand the transformative power of the financial inclusion. And this morning, as I said, I would like to share with all of you the Kuala Lumpur's experience. As a global citizens, we are guided by the 17 SDG goals, and of course by the new urban agenda, leave no one behind. And that is the compass for us to guide the future of Kuala Lumpur to be just, inclusive, and sustainable. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a fact that financial inclusion is a very important, and in fact, is a vital role for us in achieving our ambition. Under my leadership, Kuala Lumpur City Hall embraced this universal aspiration, actively working towards a city that is livable, a city that is resilient, safe, inclusive, and also very important, a city that is enjoyable for all its inhabitants, and of course, leave no one behind. This is very important statement, but as I used to say that it is not easy to be implemented, but we try our level best to make sure Kuala Lumpur City is a truly sustainable city without leaving anyone behind. So, because of that, I would like to emphasize here, financial inclusion is very, very important. Because I think anywhere in the city, we have the marginalized group or the disadvantaged group that we cannot leave them behind. We must roll them in our city. If we were to leave them behind, then the city will suffer. My time as mayor, again, we strive to extend the reach of financial services because we have the group to address to. To extend the reach of financial services to those marginalized and to create an inclusive urban environment. These initiatives allow individuals to access resources and encourage economic participation, be it in terms of setting up new businesses or expanding existing businesses. Also, we cover the aspect of buying homes for those who will not be able to get the facilities from the bank because they don't have the fixed income. We do help them. I show you some of the approach that we have adopted later. Buying homes And also, there's another special program that we have introduced, running urban farms in the city. Ladies and gentlemen, in Kuala Lumpur, we identified a few financially disadvantaged groups or marginalized groups. They are, one of them is B40. So B40 is a group where the earning is less than USD $1,000 per month in terms of the household income. And they are so critical in need of access to financial facilities. A significant majority found themselves unable to secure financial support from traditional banks, creating a barrier of to opportunities and growth. You can see here it is so important to get the finance. The other group is homeless. These homeless is individuals within this group often lack fixed income. They don't have fixed income. They survive on transient employment, or in other words, odd jobs. Of course, the bank will not recognize them as a good potential borrower, so they can't get from the bank the finance. And they don't have a stable shelter. They were forced to reside in public areas, as you can see in Jakarta as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
1 minute, Dato.
sorry?
1 minute.
Wait, 1 minute. This situation called for urgent intervention and support. The single mothers as well. Single mothers is very important group that we need to help them because they have been a lot of difficulties in handling their families. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the few groups that I think I like to touch. But there are other groups which are also having the same problem and need to be assisted financially. Again, under my leadership, I have implemented what I call it, or I term it as targeted intervention to solve the problem. Again, I said just now, the B40, the homeless, the small traders, and home ownership. This is very important to us. Everyone who lives in Kuala Lumpur must have a home. So those who are not able to get the finance from the bank, we have got the program where we are getting further territories foundation, or in Malay, Yayasan Wilayah Persatuan, together with few participating banks to offer a special finance facilities to allow them to own their house. And this program is monitored closely by City Hall of Kuala Lumpur. And again, we also issue some business grant to the groups for them to set up small businesses, and all this we believe will foster entrepreneurship and, of course, the economic self-reliance. Moderator, give me 1 more minute.
Right, Dato.
And for the homeless, we are offering them urban farming initiative. This urban farm, as you can see from the screen just now, we do the same thing in Kuala Lumpur. At the moment, I think we have nearly 50 or 60 urban farms in the city. But to run it, they need the seed capital.
Yeah.
And this seed capital is really arranged through collaboration with many parties in the collaborators you can see on the screen to help them get the capital. And of course, the other one to me is a very important initiative that was established by City of Kuala Lumpur is to set SDG Digital Center. This SDG Digital Center is actually monitor many things they monitor, especially on the program that involved with the SDG goals. But apart from that, they also monitor the implementation of financial inclusion. They also serve like a one-stop center. If you need any help, you can come to this center, digital center, or you can do also through remote, online, to check the facilities. And this center disseminate a lot of information because our target group is to make sure no one will leave behind. The city will grow together.
Right.
Grow together to achieve a sustainable stature of the development.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think I can stop there. The moderator. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dato Mahadi. And next, let's move to Bu Berna. You have also 7 minutes, Ibu.
Very good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, magandang umaga. That's what is said in Philippines, in Tagalog. First of all, please allow me to basically express my big thanks to OJK for inviting me to this wonderful forum. And thanks especially to Ibu Frederica, who has been inviting me and sharing with you what we have been doing. Actually, this is a rare occasion for me because normally we have meetings and forums among the leaders, governors and mayors. But this is good chance for us to share, actually, especially with the financial institutions, how can we bring this financial inclusivity in ASEAN. I also like to congratulate the Indonesian government for being a successful chair. I said successful chair of ASEAN 2023 because of the so many concrete recommendations that have been produced by these meetings chaired by Indonesian governments. And recently, we also held this ASEAN Mayors Forum, ASEAN Mayors and Governors of Capital Cities as well here in Jakarta. We brought almost more than 300 government leaders to be here in Jakarta last month, just a couple of weeks ago. So maybe I'm sharing you a bit different from other colleagues here, other panelists here. I'm here representing the association. This is the largest association of local governments in the world because this UCLG or United Cities and Local Governments connects more than 240,000 in more than 144 countries. Almost we can connect directly all local governments in all levels, not just cities, but also provinces, regencies, districts, and municipalities. And Asia Pacific, this is the one that I manage. It is the largest one because it comprises of 3 biggest countries, China, Indonesia, and India. So almost 500 million of the people live in these countries, and this is why for us, we play a quite important role in this organization. It's affiliated with United Nations, and also for the ASEAN itself, we have been working very closely with ASEAN, and this is why under this ASEAN Mayors Forum, we receive accreditation from the ASEAN as the only affiliated institution with ASEAN. So that's why we can use ASEAN flags, ASEAN anthems, and we can even have premises of ASEAN. So what we have been doing, this issue of finance is really an important aspect of local governments. Because many local governments depend very much on this fiscal transfer or transfers or support from the central governments. And even in Indonesia, as chair of OJK said, can cover almost more than 60%, between 30 to 60%. And this is why we have to find very good options on finance for local governments. So under these several programs, we connect local governments with potential donors, potential financial institutions, in the issue of climate change, in the issue of localization of ADGs. So we also created a help desk in UCLG ASPAC to basically answer the questions from members. This is a membership-based organizations in which our members are local governments and associations, including Kuala Lumpur and ULAP as well. So, one of the things that we have been doing here is the compilation of the best practices. I was basically amazed with programs that this BI, the Indonesian bank provided, and this could be one of the maybe a successful program that we can also help promote along these other programs or best practices that others have. So this is just a few best practices that I share with you because there are so many. This include also example of the Cambodia working with community, as well as also in Korea on this called carbon bank system, which also provide incentive for the households to reduce energy saving, as well as power of energy and water supply line. And this they can pay it back, and this is quite a good example of working with the banks and with supported by local government as well. Another thing that we recently also had is the connecting between urban farmers in Jogja through digital system. So that's why the people can buy directly from this farmers because of the connectivity. Because basically the financial inclusivity is about how to make connectivities between the users, also the the providers. So this is just an example that we completed, and I just came back from Jogja, and we learned that this has also been expanded to others. So next, another one is, next slide please. Okay, so we really encourage women participation in all levels of developments. And this is an example of having capacity building programs for promoting this, what we call it, gender participatory planning and gender participatory budgeting. And we also encourage many women mayors to also look at that aspect as well. I don't know if you believe in me, because when the women hold the money, normally the women will use it for one, nutrition, family, as well as education. But maybe, I don't know, we can debate later when the men hold the money, what they will spend for. But this is just intermezzo of those things. So in the next slides, some of the key points. We also done research with OECD on these subnational governments' financial frameworks. And also looking at the enabling environments. This is part of the research that we have done also with the United Nations. And I think Governor Chua, you mentioned very right. One aspect is the lack of infrastructure, particularly in remote areas. This is where there is a gap always in digital connectivity as well as inclusivity on finance. So I think last slides, some takeaways, and also recommendations. Let me go just straight to recommendations. We have a lot of recommendations that we would like to share with you. One is the importance of having financial inclusion task force. I think the effort on the government of Indonesian decision of creating this task team of acceleration on finance, this is certainly important. But I don't think many other ASEAN member states have a similar kind of approach on that. So I think this is something that maybe we can share or maybe basically inform the other member states, particularly local governments, whether it's necessity to have this, and definitely necessity. But we also have to be sure the quality of the task team, because creation of the task team doesn't mean that it works well. It really needs to kind of capacitate them. It also needs to have a kind of support mechanism. So another one is capacity building for local governments. I think it's very important. Maybe many of local governments are still financial illiterate. Still many, yeah? Maybe in Indonesia not that many, but in member states and other member states of ASEAN, still a lot that can be also done. Promote public-private partnerships, share best practices that I have been talking about, advocacy for enabling policies. I just want to also note here, in Indonesia, you have many regulations available or existing regulations to support local governments in doing whatever financial options they can give, like PPP, municipal bonds, also this BLUD, and those kind of things. Yeah? But not one single municipal bond has been released in the country. This is also a question for all of us. Why there is no single municipal bond has been released in this country? Because in China, in Japan, most of the infrastructures also funded by bonds, municipal bonds, yeah, particularly. So this is last slide actually, funding mechanism, research and data collection, and collaborative research and innovation labs. So thank you very much for your attention. I think I speak in 7 minutes because I've been using my alarms. Thank you, terima kasih.
Right, thank you, Ibu Berna, for the insight. Right, ladies and gentlemen, before we jump to the floor to give the opportunity to ask our panelists, let us start our chit-chat first, talk show. I will start from Governor Dex. Governor Dex, I will let you to more elaborate about the Paling QR. What is all about the Paling QR?
Thank you. So in the Philippines, our central bank, together with the Department of Interior and Local Government, established or launched a program and collaborated with local government units. Each municipality and city, which is about 1,486 municipalities and 144 cities, each of them have at least one public market. So the idea of the central bank is to push the digitalization by providing a unique QR code for all the establishments, vendors, and sellers and business operators within the public markets. So it is a program that local governments can participate with our central bank to establish that unified QR code system throughout the nation.
And what about the coverage? What about the coverage? Because as you said before, the lack of infrastructure is one of the biggest challenges in the Philippines.
Okay, so in the Philippines, most of centers or the economic centers of cities have no problem in connectivity. You will find the problem in the isolated or geographically challenged areas. Metro Manila, cities like Cebu or Davao, General Santos, most cities will have connectivity and there will be no problem. But once you go out of the cities and go to the remote areas, there will be no more connectivity where maybe 40 to 60% of the population reside. And that is where the challenge is for our country. If we do not address the lack of infrastructure, then we further disenfranchise those who are living in the remote areas. We are now telling them, it is better for you to move your house, live near the city where you will be connected, than to stay there. And I think that is the wrong message to send to our people. And therefore, it is upon government, central and local, to work together to provide connectivity in the remote areas, to ensure that they have the same connection, they have the same privilege while living in a remote area. So
what about in your region, in your province, about the infrastructure of the telecommunication?
Yeah, so Quirino is a very remote province, very agricultural, and therefore it is not like a big city like Jakarta. So in our province, we have invested maybe about almost $10 million to put up our very own locally invested digital towers. These towers will provide connectivity in the remote areas and make sure that we will use the schools and we will establish the towers within the schools to provide learning for our students, provide internet for our students, and as well from those schools spread the connectivity to the entire community. So that is the project that we've done, which I think will in the future be in collaboration with our telecommunication companies for it to be sustainable and for that connectivity to be around for a long, long time.
Because they should see the business factor before they invest the infrastructure, right? Bu Berna, do you see this problem as the biggest problem to reach the financial inclusivity between the countries, especially in our region, in ASEAN? How do you connect this problem between cities, between region, between province, and between countries?
Actually, we have a common problems.
Yeah.
But sometimes those problems are different in scales. Like big cities might have big scales of problems. And how we connect with all those diversifications of local governments, because in ASEAN, we have so much diversification, not only in terms of size of the city, size of the regions, but also in the status of economic level. This is also very important. Another important in terms of level of decentralization. We Indonesia are very fortunate because we have a very good big bang with a level of decentralization in which local governments are free to do many other things. Of course, there are some challenges that we see, but in many other member states in ASEAN, level of decentralization is different. They have no kind of mandate, no kind of authority to decide, even to have a certain, or accessing any funds that are available. So how we can connect those kind of things? Because we cannot do it alone. We cannot do it alone.
Exactly.
This is why we also have the associations. We have OLAP here. We have Association of Local Governments to continue advocate the importance of local governments. Even we speak at the United Nations level, at the international level. What the perspective of local governments here, and sometimes are neglected. Yeah? So we really need to push forward the decentralization level so that we can have a good enabling environment for local governments and cities in all over the world, and including these member states. There are a lot of centralized systems. There are also, different level of this. What we do as part of our involvement is that connectivity. We create a platform. We have a platform in which all local governments can share, can also learn each other. But we don't only share the successful cases. We also learn the failures, because what the intentions of sharing the failure experiences also to not make the same mistakes what others are doing. So we have ASEAN MES Forum in ASEAN level that I already mentioned earlier. And also with those kind of platforms, we have also programs, capacity building, learning, and those kind of things. But we need, one of the things that I forgot to mention is in the ASEAN MES Forum, we normally produce declarations. What we want to see in ASEAN is to have local governments unit inside the ASEAN Secretariat.
Right.
It's not available at this moment, but we are continuing our effort of advocating this, and I think it's the right time because Indonesia is doing reformation of the ASEAN Secretariat.
Yes, to boost the togetherness between the regions in the ASEAN. Right, thank you, Bu Berna. I'll move to Dato Mahadi. Dato, I was interested on the SDG Digital Center to assist the marginalized group. Can you give us more explanation on it?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This SDG Digital Center actually is established by City Hall Kuala Lumpur. This is the center where anyone who wanted to see how much we have localized SDG goals, they can come and get the information at the center. Because it is digital, they can also actually get the information online. So you don't have to physically come to the center, you can actually do online. The importance of this SDG Digital Center is in the context of financial inclusion, we want this center to become the one-stop center. For instance, you wanted to view or wanted to check where can I get the finance or the assistance, financial assistance from any bank or from any government agencies or even from the Kuala Lumpur City Hall, so that I will be able to improve or I will be able to set up new business or improve my business at the moment to have better capital, or I can also seek for certain financial assistance from any agency that offer that facilities. So they view from the center, then of course they need to comply and know what are the guidelines and requirements to be able to apply to this bank or to the government agencies that offer the facilities.
Yeah, until they get the loan.
Yeah, they can download. And in Kuala Lumpur, because it is the capital city of Malaysia, many places in Kuala Lumpur, especially at the main areas of people's concentration, like in the shopping area or in the public housing area, we, City of Kuala Lumpur, with the cooperation and collaboration with the telecommunication agencies, they do provide free Wi-Fi facilities. So you actually can go to this area and get it connected through free Wi-Fi facilities. So to me, when we have got this center, it is a place that people can use it to get more meaningful and important information, how to help them to get good financial assistance from any available agencies that provide it.
Yeah, Dato, I believe that each of us have a specific different cultures issues on how to get to reach the financial inclusivity. As we know that Kuala Lumpur is a very vibrant city, packed with many cultural differences. How do you deal with it? Do you see it as a big obstacle or not?
Sorry?
About the differences of the culture background.
Oh, the culture background, yeah. But I think in the city, we don't have very big gap in terms of the aspect on the culture.
Okay.
We don't have much gap there. But what we want to have is actually, maybe in terms of the racial composition, Chinese, Malay, and the Indian. So the Chinese, normally, they may try their own ways to get the finance from the illegal money lenders. So that is what we don't want to happen. But to the Malays, they are more open to actually source the funding or their financial assistance from the government agencies through, of course, their local political leaders. And to the Indian, I can see some of them go to the illegal money lenders to get the assistance. But again, the culture or the tradition is not sustainable because it will end up, if you don't pay back to the money lenders, you were having hell of problems. So because of that incident, many incidents happened in the past. We are also quite serious to help all this group of all these people, and government also very serious, especially from the central government. Today, I just want to mention this. The new Prime Minister is so concerned about poverty in the country. So the Prime Minister, Datuk Sri Anwar, even 2 days ago, increased the allocation for the people to get the microcredit.
Right.
They have increased the allocation from 4 million to 6 million ringgit
Ringgit.
Malaysia. So there's a big assistance, big commitment from the central government, because the government is really wanted to address poverty in the country.
Right.
So because of that, I think with the dissemination of information that we do from the SDG Digital Center, I hope the bad culture will be eliminated and more people will come forward through a proper channel to get the assistance from the bodies that is actually supported by the government.
Right, thank you, Dato. I'll move to Pak Sarjito. What can be learned from the Philippines and Kuala Lumpur from Malaysia to us?
Okay, I think at this opportunity we can learn each other, and also my brother from Philippines and also Malaysia may also copy what we have done here. As I mentioned, Bernadette, that it's not easy actually to coordinate all of those things. And in Indonesian government, we have even stipulated in the law that government, central bank, and financial service authority need to work together to promote financial literacy and inclusion, which is not, I believe, in other countries, in Asian countries, have this kind of thing. And we also promote what we call the Regional Financial Access Team, which is, this is very good and very effective, what I have learned, that, you know, we really push the financial literacy and we push the inclusion and really help the local business, MSMEs, to get an access to financial access for combating also from the huge loan shark tradition that has been there for quite a long time. And what I learned from the Philippines is that I think, again, like in Indonesia, is connectivity. So we do want, in terms of the effectiveness of the branches banking, we want to have the access of the connectivity on all Indonesia in any remote area, that people can have an access to have a financing and also saving and whatever, because over there they have no automated, there is no ATM and all those kind of thing. And within the Malaysia, I guess, I could learn also that we need to take care of the unhappy society, which is like homeless and all those kind of thing. And here in Indonesia, we of course battle together, not only OJK, but also the Ministry of Social Affairs, and that's why in the overall, like, we have a team like combating also illegal investment scheme, illegal investment, illegal entity, financial entity who also quite huge here. You mentioned here earlier from our colleague from Malaysia that we have also illegal money lenders. As I mentioned before, it's a loan shark. Here we have to combat what we call the P2P lending, illegal P2P lending. So we provide in the capital market area about equity and debt crowdfunding for those who are not bankable, who want to raise fund, for those who start up to get the raise fund for the first place. And for those who actually, now we try to close the illegal web, whatever, for the illegal P2P lending, but it's not easy, so we work together with the Minister of Information and Communication Affairs, and we not only block, but we also want to impose the criminal sanction, which is quite huge. In the new law, we can impose the sanction until 1 trillion rupiah and also maximum 10 years in prison. So all this kind of thing, we want to work together. Inclusion, but not with the illegal P2P lending.
Yeah.
Yes. So we
but how powerful is the TPKAD to tackle those illegal activities?
We are very powerful, and I'm now the chairman of the what you call the team for the to combat these illegal investment scheme and also illegal financial entity. And we're going to use this new law, and we work together with the police officer and the public prosecutor. And our colleague from public prosecutor, we want to push on the, on the court proceeding that they must be threatened and also imposed with the severe in order to have a, deterrent effect. So it is very powerful, but the thing is that the seriousness and the coordination between government and central bank and also OJK and also all the police officer and the public prosecutor. Basically, if we work together like I heard the Bernard, that it's not only that we form what we call the financial access acceleration team, but they have to work. They have to study every day until we found out, even they can find out what is the potential of the local government, what is the potential of this and that. And they may copy what's successful in other region. That's it.
Right, right. Thank you. One more thing, Pak Sarjito, is about the student loan. What about student loan?
To?
Student loan.
A student loan.
Yeah.
We have actually promote what we call the, it's not about the student loan actually, what we call is actually the, we give the opportunity for student even from kindergarten,
right,
to recognize about the finance, about saving. And we push this not only from, at the first place, I got surprised why then my staff proposed me kindergarten. They have to pick a happy thing, not to think about money, investment and things like that. But this is for it from the beginning. So they have to understand what is saving. It's still kindergarten. We have also, OJK has created, what you call guidance for students from kindergarten to high school. We have also provide curricula that can be used at school for state and private school, whatever, until universities. So for those universities who not only interested in saving, of course, we provide what we call by saving and investment. And all those kind of things is very beneficial for them before we introduce them into the more sophisticated financial system. Like now, when I even talk in the regional area, they ask me about the crypto, while they haven't recognized about mutual fund and also the what you call the share and stock and bond. So we want to push the society, Indonesian society, to really understand any financial instrument, what is the obligation, what is the risk, and what is the benefit, until they find out as a savvy investors who are very experienced and investing in a very more volatile and challenging investment scheme.
So it is about to educate them.
Yes.
It is about the financial literacy, not only to give them the money.
No, of course not. It's not educating, giving them the money. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Sarjito. I'll move to Bu Yunita. Bu Yunita, about the 71%, is it right, Ibu? Adults in Indonesia that don't have bank account because they don't have the money. Can you give us more explanation on it?
Yep, it's quite surprising, ya, Pak, ya. And it's even more surprising because it surpassed our neighboring countries like Malaysia and also India and Brazil. So this 70% is 70% of adult population without bank account, and they don't have bank account because of the insufficiency of fund. So this 70% is because of they don't have the enough money to put in the bank account.
How do you tackle this situation? Because it's not only about the connectivity.
Mm-hmm. It means that they need an economic activity.
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot just rely on the social aid. Social aid is not the only solution. It should be just the first or the initial capital, but more importantly is that we have to turn it into an economic activity. And They need some connectivity for that. They need some capacity building. They need some facilitation on that. So just giving money is not enough. Just like Pak Sarjito mentioned, even for students, we cannot just give money and solve the problem, but we have to make it as the first engine to make it the economic cycle. Yeah.
Right. And what about the connectivity or the internet to implement the CRIS program? For example, Ibu, I just got back from Labuan Bajo yesterday, but unfortunately, there are still many shops and restaurants don't provide the CRIS, the QR code provided by the government, by the regulator. What happened, Ibu?
Yeah. Well, CRIS as one means of digital payment. Actually, it's also face the same problems with other digital instruments. There are at least these three basic elements that should be fulfilled to make it popular. The first one is the infrastructure. So, and it's quite challenge for our vast country with thousands of islands, like Governor Dex mentioned, also in the Philippines, right? So, and I agree with you. The digital infrastructure is a must, yeah, in the digital era. So the first one is maybe the limited infrastructures, and then second one is about the people itself. Yeah, we have to raise awareness about the importance and
The
also
people itself, the awareness.
yeah. So yeah, it's part of responsibility of the regulator and also the regional government to educate, to socialize and disseminate the advantage of the instruments, the digital instruments. And then the third one, we believe that the industry also have a responsibility to make it
To
popular.
encourage the, yeah.
Because maybe it's on the merchant side.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I believe we have the people, some friends from industries here. I think it's also the responsibility for industry to make it as a popular instrument for the merchants.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Thank you, Bu Yunita. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it is the time for you on the floor to ask the panelists. Anyone? You can raise your hand. Yes, please. And some of us will assist you with the microphone. And Bapak Ibu juga bisa bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia. Kami persilakan.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Devta. I'm here to represent the Cabinet Secretariat of the Republic of Indonesia, one of the presidential office here in Indonesia. I would like to ask a question to the honorable panelists from the both OJK and BI, if possible. It's only like a short question. So what's like the BI and OJK strategy to improve the financial literacy among the country? As we know, it's very important, and it's also mentioned by our president that we really need to improve financial inclusion accompanied by the financial literacy. So I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, Pak Sarjito, maybe?
Okay, thanks. I think the question, would you please repeat one more question? And I mean, I could hear, but it could be barrier, right? Barrier? Strategy. Okay. You know, of course, we have lots of strategy to narrow the gap between financial literacy and inclusion. The ideal thing is that the financial literacy of the society is higher than the inclusion. But even now, you know, even me here, even all of you, probably when you open the Google Gmail, you may not read all the clauses. You may agree. That's why in Indonesia, people think that they are offered, you know, kind of rather complicated things like unit link, for example. The thing, probably this is you know, the person who sell the product telling that this is like the saving, that you may have a good, you know, a result in the next couple of years. But that's not educating actually, because the person or the potential consumers basically has no good knowledge or the literacy on the product. But this thing is very dangerous. But I guess all over the globe, for the big countries like Indonesia, India, US, and even US, I think financial literacy of the society will not be higher than the inclusion. But then what we have been doing now is that we use all the platform, all the activities physically and through the social media, and also collaboration with all institutions, including what I told you before on the regional financial access acceleration team. We have done everything, including for the illegal investment scheme that spread out over here, including the offering of the illegal P2P lending and all type of investment, including also money game, which is people, as I told you before, they probably act like, even the youngest, they like the volatile one. They don't really know quite well on the share, bond, and mutual fund, but they invest on what you call money game, look like investment, but they don't recognize quite well, including crypto that now that will be under OJK supervision. So we are educating traditional way, and we also put the trainer and all social media. But again, you know, our society and too many, and the fraudsters also too smart, you know, to combat. You know, that's the thing. But I believe by only invest, for example, invest or borrow for those who are listed or licensed by the financial service provider, at least they can protect. And I told you before, we also combat all the illegal investment scheme, illegal things through communication with the Google and the Meta and also the Ministry of Communication and Information Affairs. Thank you.
Bu Yunita?
Yes, from Bank Indonesia point of view, we have 3 basic strategies to increase our financial literacy in the public area. The first one is the massive and structured way of educating people. And in this policy, we are cooperating with OJK also, supported by World Bank. We have launched a digital financial service education module. It's just launched by Ibu Kiki as well, like 2 days ago here in this place. So with this module, we will have the same education material with the OJK for the targeted group. And also we have collaborative action also with the others international organization to set up the educational training program. And the second strategy is to strengthen our financial consumer protection policy. Following the omnibus law for financial sector, just this year we have published our regulation on consumer protections. So with that, we make sure that the people that involved, especially in the digital transaction, they are protected. They are guaranteed of the protected with the bad from the hackers, from the fraudster, and hopefully so it will make a balance between the within the banks and the consumers. And the third strategy is with the synergy and collaborative actions with other regulators to empower people. So people will have more information, sufficient information about the benefits and also the risks of each instrument, especially the digital payment instruments that they will engage it. So that's our strategy. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bu Yunita. Back to the floor. Anyone? Yes, please.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Tiani from Binus University School of Accounting. I want to ask 2 questions. The first one is already mentioned actually with Miss Yunita and also Mr. Sajito, Bu Yunita, and Pak Sajito already mentioned about how to make financial literacy. So actually, regarding the CRIS, we already having the research about that in South Tangerang, and the CRIS actually already aware. I mean, all the sellers there in the modern market, yeah, there is an area called BSD, yeah, Bu Mr. Pongdamai. There is a modern market there, and they mandatory all the sellers must using the CRIS. So actually, we already doing the research, and the research is they are really good. Earlier, the research mentioned that all the elder people maybe don't know about the CRIS, how to operate the CRIS. But the next problem is when they are operating the CRIS, there is a time gap when they are doing the transaction and when they receive the money. So is there any policy about that, maybe from Bapak Sarjito and Ibu Yunita, is there any policy? And then for the, yeah, and thank you for maybe one of our government bank is really doing the real time, and they ask us, is there any opportunity if the bank can be detailed for the transaction? Maybe the buyer can, can just pay, but they don't know if they already pay or not, like that. Yeah. And then the second one for Datuk, is there any strategies for us? Can you share any strategies for us? Because my dissertation is about ESG in ASEAN, and then the Malaysia is really high. The score for all the ASEAN, Malaysia is really high about the ESG awareness, for the sustainability awareness. Is there any strategy, or maybe you can share with us what is the tips that we can elaborate, or we can have collaboration, or maybe we can implement in Indonesia to gain the awareness from the stakeholders? Thank you.
Dato, you may first to answer the second question.
Thank you for the question. It is commitment and the understanding first from the owners of the function. In Kuala Lumpur, because I'm ex-mayor, I just want to refer direct to the Kuala Lumpur experience, as you mentioned. So the function owner actually rests with City Hall Kuala Lumpur as how much we want to localize the SDGs. Okay, because of that commitment, we set up the center, SDG Center. Okay, the SDG Center then become a place you actually issue the program, first of all, to create the awareness among all the residents of Kuala Lumpur. Of course, it is not that easy to do that, but we get the cooperation from resident association. We also work together with the education department and higher learning institution. And we encourage the participation of the local resident through the local Agenda 21. And we put in inventory, in a list. Those are the participating bodies. For the people who involved with local Agenda 21, the City of Kuala Lumpur provides some grant, as I said, to actually help them to carry on or to localize the SDG goals. For instance, you wanted to do the recycling. You may not have facilities. You may not have land to engage to establish the center. You come to Kuala Lumpur City Hall. There's a unit for it. Sorry, we also have a unit for it, SDG section, who are actually been entrusted to handle all this. So you come to City of Kuala Lumpur, you need to meet certain requirement, then the assistance or the help would definitely be given to you easily. And on top of that, every weekend, our officers at the City Hall will come out to monitor. Normally, project involving the local residents, they are more active in participating in it during the weekend. Okay, apart from that, we are also doing like seminar, discussion, they call it focus group discussion. Focus group discussion to increase the awareness of the people. And we also tell them, your participation is very important to us because localizing SDG is not just on paper. You have to implement it and you have to do it. And if you need to change your culture, your lifestyle, like dealing with the climate change, you actually wanted to reduce carbon emission of that, you will only be able to satisfy the objective if you change your lifestyle. All this participation from the residents of Kuala Lumpur, we take it seriously and we do it through good collaboration, good networking with the local people, and where we need to use digital facilities, then we have got no other choices but to do it. That is the reason why we come to a decision to set up SDG Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato. Let's move to Bu Yunita about the knowledge and the awareness on using Chris on Aldrin
Yes.
Tangerang. Also, I believe many of them, they don't know how to pronounce Chris.
Oh, really? Okay.
Chris, I'm curious.
So it should be Chris. Chris, right? Because it's QR Indonesia standard. First, I would like to thank you for the feedback because the Chris transaction should be settled in one day. Well, actually, it should be real time, but it's in one day. But when you found out that it's settled in the following day, I think it will be an issue on the financial service provider side. So thank you for the feedback. And we will talk about it later. And then thank you also for the feedback for the education for the elderly people. I think our friend from OJK, you already have the module for elderly people. I think we will follow up for the CRIS education material for the elderly people. And just recently we have this exhibition on SME products. We call it KKI, Karya Kreatif Indonesia. And most of the visitors are the senior citizens. And while we oblige all the merchants to present the CRIS as a method of payment, and so they refuse because they don't have such instruments. So I think it is a challenge for us. Yeah. They have the money, but they don't familiar yet with the instrument. So thank you. I think we will make the specific program targeting to those groups. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Bu Yunita. One last question from the floor. Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Otto Fitriandi from OJK Central Kalimantan. I have two questions for Governor Dex. First, what types of financial services are most lacking in rural areas of Philippines compared to their urban counterparts? And the second one is, sorry, I text this in my handphone.
Can you just give one question as we have running out of time?
Yes.
Yeah, just one question, please. Thank you.
Are they the informal financial sector such as community saving groups in Philippines, and are they have impact financial inclusion landscape differently in rural and urban area of Philippines? Hope we can learn experience from your. Hope we can learn from your experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yes, yes. In the Philippines, rural areas experience a lot of financial challenges, especially the lack of financial products that are offered in the formal system. So yes, there are also informal financial providers which are unregulated. That's why it's very important to collaborate between central government and local government. But I find that the problem is why the formal financial providers cannot come to the rural areas. So that is what we are trying to solve. Is it because there is not enough economic activity? Is it because the risk is too high? Or what are the other challenges? Is it infrastructure that is being the problem? But yes, all of those are the problems that we face. And I think the solution can be solved. We can take a big step towards the right solution if we invest in digital infrastructure, making it very cheap for formal institutions to penetrate the rural areas. But there is always the question of chicken or egg. Who invests first? The businessman, the bank does not go to a rural area because there's not enough activity. The telco will not invest in a rural area because there's not enough subscriber or user. And I think that is where government should take on the risk. Maybe with public-private partnership as recommended by Bernardia. Investment in infrastructure can be shouldered by government, but management of services can be run by private sector. And perhaps the chicken and egg problem can be unlocked if we work together. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. That is the last question from the floor. So I will give each panelist to give 1 minute closing statement. Start from Dato.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I will conclude my statement by saying, together we forge the path to make the world inclusive for everyone. To do that, we need to share our experiences and successes together. Thank you.
Right, very short and simple. Bu Yunita.
Yes, for me, again, I would like to emphasize that financial inclusion is not just a number. We have to reach it as a quality financial inclusion. And that to reach that, it should also include the economic inclusion, which means empowering people to have the sustainable economic activity.
Thank you, Bu Yunita. Pak Sarjito.
For me, the most important thing is collaboration. Collaboration and seriousness and honesty to do all of these things. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Governor Dax.
For me, I mentioned this already with Bernardia. I think the future is local, which means we look at the problems locally, but we find solutions globally together. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bu Berna.
Thank you. Every human being has a right. We all have rights to breathe clean air, also to live in a better lives. And we still see the gaps because I visited one of the areas near Lampung, and I saw many people became poor because of loan shark. I think we really need to try our best to reduce all the gaps, whatever gaps we have, digital gaps, also financial inclusive gaps, and also provide financial educations and financial literacy. Right. So we need the collaborations. We need to have meaningful finance for all, for our people, for our future. Thank you.
And I believe it is the perfect moment, the perfect time to create a robust strategy between the countries in our region, in ASEAN, because we have the bond, we have the connectivity, we have the strong cultural background in our region to bring the Asian to closing the gap in financial inclusivity. Thank you very much once again, the panelists. Thank you very much also the audiences and the participants. For all panelists, please remain on stage as we are going to move to next session to receive a token of appreciation from Otoritas Jasa Keuangan or OJK as a gesture of our gratitude for the willingness of all panelists to join this discussion. And I will ask all the panelists to step a little bit ahead, and I will invite Ibu Frederica Widyasari, Bu Kiki, to present a token of appreciation to the panelists, and for Pak Sajito to give his souvenir to all panelists. And once we finish, let us take a group photo with all panelists and Ibu Kiki and also Pak Sarjito. Yes. Right, let's take a good photo. Right, on my count in 3, 2, 1. Right, thank you very much once again, panelists. Dato, thank you very much for your participation, for coming to Indonesia. Pak Sarjito, thank you very much. Bu Anita, thank you very much. Bu Kiki, thank you. Berna, thank you very much. And to Bu Kiki, Pak Sarjito, and all panelists, you may return to your seat. Thank you, Governor Dex. Thank you, you may return to your seat. Gentlemen, honorables, thank you very much. And thank you to all audiences and participants for coming to this discussion, on today's discussion. I'm Wahyu Wiwoho signing out. Thank you very much. I'll give it back to Ajeng Kamarati.
Thank you, Wahyu. What a very insightful public session, panel session or panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our seminar today. Thank you so much for your participation and also attention. May the seminar be an insightful and informative event for you. And don't forget, after this event, we kindly invite Ibu Frederica, followed by all the participants, to have lunch at the lunch area that is located beside this venue. Allow me, Ajeng Kamarati signing off, and hope to see you again. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.